I'm really happy to be here at this event. I'm happy to be here because this Center for Sustainability and Social Impact and the mini MBA that is being presented today is actually very close to my heart, and it is also at the core of my agenda and the agenda of my ministry, which is really to build a more resilient and also a more sustainable economy. The timing of this new center and also of the mini MBA could not be more perfect. We are right now, I think, after a summer which has seen a new report by the IPCC early August. Yet again, nothing that we didn't know before, but again, very alarming. We have also, for the few people, I think, that are still doubting the science, had proof in the form of floods here in Luxembourg, very close to us, floods, heat waves, fires all over the world. So the climate crisis is there. It is very close, I think, to everyone, and no one is really doubting that we need to take action. The climate change, loss of biodiversity, but also the reduction of inequalities, which are really the two sides of the same coin, are high on the political agenda. And this is, I think, something to be thankful about. I'm just back this week from the OECD ministerial meeting in Paris, where the Luxembourg government was represented by myself, by the Minister of Finance, Pierre Gramegna, and also Jean Asselborn. And the American presidency has put these 2 points on their agenda: how to get to net zero and how to build a more inclusive society. So I think I'm also thankful that the US leadership, who is back to multilateralism, is also seeing this as the absolute priorities for the world to address in the coming months and years. Also, in a few weeks, we will be having the COP26 in Glasgow, where we'll be represented primarily by Minister Karol Diesz-Busch, I think also Claude Thomas, who will be there, and the world will be watching. I think it is fair to say, and I think we all recognize, that if we want to win the race against climate change, if we want to address the climate crisis efficiently, all levers need to be pulled. And one of the levers is economy. One of the levers is definitely business. Business, economy must embrace the transition to net zero and also to preserving biodiversity. It is not enough, it is nice, of course, but it is not enough that environmentalists and that people who are anyway attuned to this agenda embrace it. No, it is absolutely crucial, and it is central that business, that industrialists, that companies, enterprises also really embrace this. And that is something that I'm trying to push through my ministry, to my action at the Ministry of Economy. That is why I have reactivated the Haut Comité de l'Industrie, which brings together Luxembourg business industries of all different sectors to think about how to fight climate change. And I can tell you, we had the last meeting, we had the first meeting 2 weeks ago, where a lot of people were present from all sizes of industry, and I can tell you that it is also something that is very high on their agenda. That is, I think, absolutely good news. And of course, we need to work together. This is not only economy that can do this. We need to work together with colleagues from Energy Ministry, from the Ministry for Environment, but also Finance, because this is also obviously about tax. It is a truly transversal effort that needs to be put in place. It is, I think, important for business to get involved because, and I can tell you that business has recognized this, it is also good for business. And this is not a blah, blah, blah. This is absolutely crucial. I think, and I'm convinced, that there are huge economic opportunities in building a more sustainable future. Businesses, and I think it's not only a nice to have, I'm also convinced that businesses who don't embrace this agenda are going to be left behind. These are the businesses that will be the stranded assets, the stranded businesses of tomorrow. And we are now in this phase, which is a phase of transition, where a lot of uncertainty exists, but we need to get there. And one of the fears that exist in the business world is that the technology, in many respects and in many areas, is not yet there. But we are getting there. We need to scale up the technologies that we have. We need to invent new ones to get to net zero. Another, I think, crucial point that I really want to address very closely is about reducing inequalities. The other side to your center, which is about sustainability, but which is also about social impact, is on social. I was recently at a company here in Luxembourg, which is Ramborn, who are producing cider in Born here in Luxembourg. And we went to we discussed the B Corp certification that they have and this exercise they went through to assess the impact of the company on the environment, obviously, but also on how they integrate into society. And I found it really interesting to see that the fact that we have a salary indexation here in Luxembourg, and the fact that we have high standards on workers' safety, on safety and health at work, is considered by the B Corp certification as a plus. This is actually something that helps the company get higher in that ranking. So the very thing that was some years ago considered as an impediment for business, if you think back about 5-10 years ago, the index was actually one of the things that businesses wanted to abolish to be more competitive. And now, in the new world of social impact, this is something that is actually a plus, which is an advantage. And that is, I think, something which is extremely positive and that I think shows the way to go. The businesses that will be more competitive tomorrow are those that will fully embrace not only the environmental agenda, but also the social agenda. The businesses that will be more fair to their workers, that will care about the people and care about the environment. And that is why I think this program to train people in sustainability and social impact is so crucial. Because, and I will close with that, I am absolutely convinced that change will come from business, change will come, obviously also have to come from politics. We need to take responsibility, but change will also primarily come from the young people, from the next generation. And this is where you are so important with this new center and with the training you put in place. Young people tomorrow will no longer want to work for businesses that are not mindful of the environment, for businesses that are not mindful about the social impacts they create. And I think that is why it is important to train young people, train them in circular economy, sustainable finance, governance and sustainability, all the different trainings that you have put in place with this center and also with the mini MBA that you are now introducing. So I would like to congratulate you for that initiative. That's very well done, and I would like to thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fayot. Let me now introduce you to Markus Muller. Markus Muller is a professor of management and director of strategic initiatives at Heart University. Prior to being a teacher with us, Markus Muller has been working more than 15 years in the financial industry. and now is acting as a full-time professor and actually in charge of the new Sustainability in Action Leadership Platform that we are launching today. Thanks again, Mr. Fayot, for the introduction. And Mr. Magus, the floor is yours.
Thank you. In everything we do at Sacred Heart, we're caring for people. We're caring for their families, their communities, organizations, and community and society at large. Our internationally accredited courses and programs inspire and enable participants to make a difference to their own lives and make a contribution to the lives of those around them for the better. As the Luxembourg campus of an American business school that is located about an hour north of New York City, for those who haven't heard of Sacred Heart University before, we've now been in Luxembourg for 30 years. It's actually our 30-year anniversary today. And given our commitment and the resulting outcomes for the participants of our courses and programs and our 30-year track record that we have here in Luxembourg, we have shown and we can proudly say, yes, we care. And because we care, we are presenting our Sustainability in Action platform to you here today. It's made in Luxembourg, and it's designed to educate existing and future leaders to drive change in terms of using business as a force for good. But let me, before I present the Sustainability in Action platform to you more specifically, let's take one step back and reflect on why we're actually coming together here at KlimaExpo 21 today and the next 2 days. It's because we are all facing a tremendous problem. And the question I'm asking, and we should all ask ourselves, is what and how is human nature contributing to that problem? Our eyes look outside. So any problem is on the outside. This is a survival mechanism that's been guiding us for the history of mankind. We're just trying to spot danger in our environments. Now, danger might not be the appropriate term in modern times. It would more be problems that we're facing. But we are always observing those problems as external to us. And that means we also see the solution for those problems on the outside. So pollution, mass extinction, climate change, we think needs to be solved somewhere out there where it is. But I would like to invite you to take a moment to consider the following perspective and join me in playing that little mind game. We are not separate from nature. 100 years from now on, everyone in this room, in this city, in this country, in Europe, on the planet, is going to be dead. But even that is not going to separate us from what the environment is going to look like in 100 years' time, because everything that every single one of us does here, today, tomorrow, the day after, for the entire lifetime is going to have an impact on how the environment is going to look like in 100 years' time. So we are all part of that nature. And if we concede that nature is broken, then we have to concede if we are part of that nature, then we are somehow broken. And maybe we have to change our perspective and think differently, and instead of looking out there and fixing the problem out there, maybe the problem is here. Maybe we are the problem. But then the question is, how can we fix that and what needs to be fixed? And maybe we need to better understand our human nature before we can effectively then fix and take steps to fix pollution, mass extinction, and climate change. One of the things that's often mentioned, that's the core, seems to be the core problem of this whole dilemma, is growth. And I'm asking you, many of you will have children, what are the first two communication concepts that children learn when they're little, 12 to 18 months? The first two concepts are usually mama and dada, or something like that, okay? What do you think are the second communication concepts that children learn at that age. Statistically, it's more than half. We all know the baby in the stroller at the cashier reaching out for the sweets, know the baby at home caring for some more food, some more of this, some more of that, some more playtime. But originally, this instinct is related, this more and this half is a survival mechanism related to increasing and learning more about the environment, having more knowledge, having more skills. It's about personal growth and personal development to overcome the dangers that our ancestors lived with. So this throughout humankind, this drive for personal growth has led to incredible creativity and innovations on our planet, improving our chances for survival on the one hand, but especially when you look at the last couple of 100 years, improving our quality of life. Today, compared to our ancestors, we are much better educated, we're much healthier, and some might argue we might even be much better looking, but I'll leave that up to you. At some point of that journey, something must have gone wrong. We must have taken a wrong turn somewhere. We must have been drifting away from living in alignment with our nature and the nature and the environment surrounding us. Somehow we started to think differently. It was no longer, okay, we have to accumulate skills and knowledge to survive. We have to accumulate money and possessions. That's our new survival mechanism. The more money and the more possessions we have, the more likely survival is. And that will improve our quality of life. This will improve ensure our survival. So there was a movement from personal growth to materialistic growth, or you would call it today, the colloquial term is consumption. So we started to squeeze every cent and every percent to maximize economics, ignoring the impact on the environment around us, on the nature around us that we are part of and that we depend on. So the expression of growth that used to be a survival mechanism for human nature has turned into a killer, in a way. And in a way that a lot of scientists and practitioners actually say, this is actually a formula for human nature's mass suicide if we continue on that path. So it doesn't take the mind of a rocket scientist to see that consumption growth on the one hand, population growth on the other, put together exponential growth is not sustainable. Infinite growth on a finite planet is not sustainable. So looking good in itself is not going to save us. But what does? What have we actually tried so far? What are the steps that we've taken? Well, you look around, you look at the press, the written press, TV, internet, and so on. There are three main things you find when you do a review of that literature, of what we're doing. Raising awareness. We're mainly using fear for that. The end is near. There will be mass migration. There will be armed conflicts over resources. There will be catastrophes in the trillions of dollars, and so on and so forth. So it's raising awareness. That's okay. But we're using fear for that. Let's just leave that for the moment. Number one, we're enforcing change. Rules, regulations, legislation. We now even have court rulings, like in the Shell case, forcing people to change, to be hopefully creative and innovative. And thirdly, and you have that for any new movement, there are lots of grassroots new initiatives which are nice to have, but there are disciplinary islands, marketing, strategy, finance, supply chains. There are geographical islands, Europe versus other continents, for example, and you have ideological islands, the left, the right, the poor, the rich, and so on. All of these together have given us a reasonable start to our mission to save our planet. But what got us here, to this point here, as we're sitting here today, is not going to get us to the end point of our mission. Why? It's because fear, control, and island solutions in themselves are not sustainable strategies. They are just short-term strategies, and there's plenty of research and science to support that. Fear, medium to long-term, triggers ignorance, resistance, numbness. In scientific terms, we call it fight, flight, or freeze behavior. Control, science clearly shows that medium-term to long-term, it's ineffective as a motivator. And I'll get to that in a second. In another example. Thirdly, island solutions. You lose time and effectiveness and synergies when you don't combine all the different seeds that are all over the place but not integrated in a holistic approach. Let me just briefly go back to fear and control, just to give you an example. If I want to get Minister Fayot off his chair here in front, I can throw a couple of €100 bills in front of his chair so that he might look what it is and might get off his chair to grab it. Or I could set his chair on fire. That would also get him up his chair. Okay? Those are the two strategies. In businesses, we call it carrot and stick. But what are the negatives of that? If you put the chair on fire, I think I don't need to talk about the negatives. It's more important to talk about the carrots, because people think when you put carrots in front of people, it's motivating. It's not. The effect wears off. So if I throw €200 in front of the chair the first time, the next time maybe it's going to hold, but the third time I have to throw there maybe 300, 400, 500 euros. So it becomes more and more expensive. The second thing is that the effect wears off. And every time I want the minister to get off his chair, I have to do something beforehand. So it's not self-starting behavior that I create. Can we afford the situation we're in right now, that every time we want one of the individuals here or somewhere in the world, organizations, to do something, we have to do something first? This puzzle is not going to be solved by a few of us. It has to be solved by all of us. So we have to find a different way. And the question is, what else can we do beyond fear, control, and innovation? And island solutions. There are three things that we see, that research sees, that we see as a business school. They are generating confidence, they are inspiring creativity, and they are fueling collaboration. Let me start with generating confidence. The why is clear for most people on this planet. What is not clear, when I talk to people, they always say, yeah, we know all that, but how? It's a monumental task. How are we supposed to do that? So the how is the question. And in order to inspire the how, we need to change our communication from fear-based, the end is near communication, to positive, upside, strength-based communication. We need a new narrative. We need leaders, and that can be anyone, who inspire new stories. Let me ask you this. If I wanted to recruit you for a 21st century campaign or project, would you rather sign up for Disaster 21, or would you rather sign up for Survival 21? The focus needs to be more on the positive. We are all clear on the fear-inspiring stuff and the why. We need to be more positive and get people motivated, and you don't do that through fear. You don't get there by just doing less harm. We have to do good. It's not good enough to sell a fossil fuel power plant to someone else. It has to be closed. That's the difference between doing less harm and doing good. Inspiring creativity. Well, research shows that creativity cannot be prescribed. It can only be inspired. And I really like when I teach creativity in my classes, I always start with Antoine de Saint-Exupéry and The Little Prince, who said, if you want to build a ship, and he was quite accurate, because in these days, at some day, we might have to build an ark to survive. He said, don't drum up the men to gather wood, divide the work and give orders. Instead, teach them to yearn for the vast and endless sea. So what we need to do is teach people to yearn for Survival 21. Last point, fueling collaboration. What we need is a holistic approach. And this is what our university and our business school stands for. We need to build bridges. Bridges between theory and practice, between disciplines, the different disciplines, and there are many of them, between the present and the future, between generations. And we need to build bridges between governments, the stakeholders of governments, industry, and consumers. And education will play a key part in that, because education is a way of instilling new thinking in people. And that's what the aim of our Sustainability in Action platform is for. Education makes people think. Through neuroscience, we know that education creates new brain connections that make people think differently, and if they think different, they act different. Throughout the history of humankind, innovation for better quality of life has been the result of individuals, explorers, inventors, entrepreneurs who are thinking different. Thinking different is an enabling mechanism that can be learned. That's where education comes in. So learning to think different today and applying it to acting different tomorrow may have never been more pressing and existential in the history of modern humans than these days. Yes, we care at Sacred Heart, and therefore higher education, as a higher education institution, we have decided to design and launch a Luxembourg-based leadership platform, leveraging the personal growth feature of our human nature to think different, shape discussion, and promote action. This overview shows the objectives, which I went through, and it shows how the platform brings together cutting-edge scholars, practitioners, with existing and future leaders from all spheres of life. So it's for private individuals, it's for corporate citizens, and it's for governments and politicians, integrating international and Luxembourg perspectives. And at this point, I would like to thank our partners, which you see here on the right-hand side, our international partners, B-Lab, and the Innovation Hub of Sacred Heart University in the US. I would like to thank our national partners, Seismic, Positive Impact, and Lux Innovation. And I would particularly like to thank our Board of Regents, and especially our chairman, Raymond Chadec. Without those people and those partners supporting us, we would not be able to present this platform to you today. In terms of the courses and the content and the programs, we have enriched our program, every single discipline, with new content, because we think that sustainability, like technology, is like a spider in the web. It touches on every single discipline that we have on this planet. So we are now instilling content in every single course. We're combining those courses into a certificate, and that's already up and running, so it's open now for registration. And together with B-Lab, we are working on a mini MBA, a Master in Benefit Administration. We launch it in the first quarter in 22, and we'll start marketing that soon. After 30 years, our business school is deeply rooted now in the Luxembourg system. We have benefited substantially from the location, its infrastructure, and its people here. By establishing this sustainability platform here in Luxembourg, we want to give something back. We're not only building bridges within Luxembourg, but we are also intending to build bridges between Luxembourg and the world. Our aspiration for the Sustainability in Action platform is to contribute to Luxembourg's nation branding and for the country to be recognized as a platform for a new level of global societal impact through education. If you care as much as we do and want to become an ambassador of change, a recognized member of the Sustainability in Action platform, I invite you to support us, partner with us, or enroll into one of our courses and programs. Join Sacred Heart University's community and become one of the people who proudly say, yes, We care. Thank you very much.